Hi, I'm Gary,
Hello, I'm Leon, the grandfather.
and we are Gary and.
The grandfather.
Yeah, I swear, each time it's getting slower and slower and slower. I'm really getting worried about you.
Well, you never. Maybe it's in the dancing there, Gary.
Yeah,
Maybe it's in the
maybe.
dancing. I'm up dancing today.
Maybe I'm just slowing down myself.
There we are.
Maybe I am.
Yeah. Well, when you slow down, they say, when you can spend a few moments and slow down, you can reflect more. I taught a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and a clever man, and he said to me, whenever you're really, 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 really busy, stop. I said, I'm sorry, stop. Stop
Okay.
for 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and listen for the birds, the bees, the bugs. Listen to your heartbeat, your breathing. Just stop.
So just completely stop.
Stop.
Just stop.
Stop.
All right.
Stop. And so, one day I was up in the mountains, driving back. I'm late for school, driving like a madman. And then suddenly this thought flashed in front of my eyes. Stop! Pulled the car to the side, got out. In the distance, some children were playing, giggling away. There was a brook over here. A brook was
Really?
flowing by. The birds were tweeting. I looked up. There was a magnificent forest in front of me. I'd have missed all of this, Gary. All of this would have just never been a part of my consciousness. And I never forgot this. Right? So now, every day in my phone,
Mm-hmm.
I program it so it rings at 12:30, and I call it my beauty moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, it rang, and I was sitting in church. Yesterday, it rang, and I was at school. The day before it rang, I was walking in a park. These are just snippets of time, right? Because this moment will never, ever, ever come again. So when I talk to you, I'm always very touched because I remind myself that the conversation that we're having now is immortal because it'll never come again, right?
Yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah,
Yeah.
you do make a point there.
Yeah. So like adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have a chat about adventure. What do you think?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like you're an adventurous man. Tell me how you see adventure. How do you see adventure?
How do I see adventure?
Yeah.
Well, I think life is one big adventure. You know, for better or for worse, life's a big adventure.
Big adventure.
And, I've had plenty of good things happen in life. And then I've also had terrible, terrible things happen.
Yeah.
I've had situations, well, I think I've said before to you that I like to cycle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we kind of have this a bit of camaraderie when we cycle. Whoever
Yeah.
I go out with,
Yeah.
that we don't leave the other people behind.
Okay.
Some cycling teams or groups that they will drop.
Really?
Some of them,
Yeah.
depending how tight knit the group is.
Okay.
And the rules of the
Of the group. so
of
to
the group.
speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
But with the guys I go with, it's very casual. That we have this rule: we don't drop anyone. It's just 2 or 3 of us. And one time, it's just me and this other guy went out. A guy from Colombia called Alonzo.
Alonso.
Yeah,
Sounds
big
like-
guy.
Sounds like an arrow, Alonso.
Yeah, big guy, and
Yeah.
he's great. Large, friendly personality.
Okay.
And we were going out, and we're making our way back towards the city, because we'd usually just go on one big loop, about 100 kilometers each time.
Okay.
And as we're making our way back, it's a new route we never tried before,
Yeah.
and he ends up getting a flat on his the tire.
Okay.
So he calls his wife. He tells her the situation. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's a Sunday. Bicycle shops are closed. He calls his wife. He says, can you come pick me up? This
Yeah.
is a problem. And he says to me, okay, you can just keep on going, because I was going to you to finish the route.
Of course.
He said, you just keep on going. I said, no. He said, I'll wait until your wife gets here. And so we waited for about 2 hours.
Wow.
Until his wife came.
Wow.
But I wasn't gonna leave him, because
Good for you.
that's just not how we operate.
Mm-hmm.
And although although the situation of sitting on the side of the road in the sun, waiting for your mate's wife to come so he can get back home safely with his bicycle with a blown out tire, it's not really a nice situation. But at the same time, it was quite a bonding moment between us two friends,
I bet.
you know.
I bet.
And
Yeah.
that's one of those examples I see in life as an adventure. Even a lot of the so-called bad moments or unplanned moments, they still have kind of a silver lining in them if you can just look for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, I mean, the gift that you received there is the gift of friendship.
For sure.
And you know, I guess the biggest crisis we all face at around 20 years old, when we're honest with ourselves, so to speak, is that we realize we are alone. I'm alone. That's it. There's me in consciousness. Now I see other beings running around in the world and they look like me, but the only person I really truly know is me. But that said, our life is an effort to bond with people, be it may our mate, our wife, our friends. And so if we're ever afforded an opportunity like you experienced, Gary, it's wonderful, right? Because you at the very least you hone your skills of communication with another human being.
Yeah.
And you undoubtedly felt better as well, right? I mean, you also had that psychological understanding what it's like to be with another being, not abandon people. Tell you a story?
Yeah.
I hitchhiked across Canada when I was 19 years old. And if I could give you a piece of advice, don't hitchhike across Canada. It's a very long way. And don't hitchhike across Canada in the winter time.
Oh no.
And don't hitchhike across Canada when you've just lived in Europe for 2 years and you have clothing that's good for Europe. All these things, right? All these things. So I'm hitchhiking across Canada and I arrived in Calgary and I walked, the bus dropped me off and I got to walk across Calgary, and it's a very, very long way. And I'm walking along and I get talking to this woman. She's, so I would be 19, she's 40 or 50, right? She walks along, we walk for a long way. She's talking to me, got my little pack sack on, I'm walking, you know. And then she reached in her purse and she stopped for a moment. She reached in her purse and she handed me $50. A lot of money. People weren't making $50 a day at this point in life. That's a lot of money. And I said to her, I had $50 to my name, but I also have pride. And I said, thank you, I'm fine. And she said, no, please take the $50. And I said, no, thank you. I have enough money. I'm fine. So we have this back and forth dialogue. And then I refused and she started to cry. Please take this money. And then she tells me her son has run away 2 years before. He's about my age and she wished that she'd been there to help him and whatever, you know. And you know what? I still refused the $50, right? And she left in tears, whatever. Now I think maybe I should have accepted the $50 because she was giving me the gift of generosity, right? And I refused it because of pride, right? It was pride. It's just total pride here. I don't accept money. I can make my own money, right? And I didn't identify with her need. And her need was to be kind, to say in her heart, I've done a little thing to gain my self-respect back over the incidents of my son, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the adventure of life. You know, Gary, we go along and we learn these lessons, right? And isn't that you know, it's interesting. I'm 65, right? And it's when I was your age, I thought 65. You're dead, babe. You're this big and you're dead, right? Not true. The opposite is true. You actually get more. You're happy to be 65, and you're more interested about life and where life is going, because you realize now that life is not descendant. It's actually ascendant. It's going up. In my case, to God. I believe to God. I'm returning to God. That's in the Old Testament in Genesis. We're made in God's image, right? So obviously I'm going back to Him in some form. Maybe not Leon the ego, but right? So, you know, so isn't that an interesting way to see life? So all the incidences that you're discussing, you know, the bicycle failure, this failure, the car failure. one time many years ago, I borrowed my boss's car, and it was a time that if you closed the door and the lock was down, it locked.
Yeah.
It locked.
I remember those times.
I locked the car in 20 below with the car running in the snow in the middle of nowhere on a beach. Could you imagine this? The car just... And there I am looking at the car going, oh, come on. You gotta be kidding. You gotta be kidding. I must have left the other door unlocked. Nope. And the car eventually ran out of gas as I'm watching it. And you know how it goes. Now you got two problems. A, you're lost. B, you got no gas. Right?
Yeah.
It was a mess. But it was I never made that mistake again. I learned the lesson of never closing the car door without checking. So now I'm a constant checker in my words and my actions and what I write, how I think, what I say. So I learned the lesson of caution. So there we are, another lesson, if you will, right?
Well, you know, speaking of caution and adventure, you know, I have a story from when I was in Europe that I'd been studying in Germany for about a semester in university, and on the weekends I used to go traveling. So one time I decided to go over to Luxembourg for a few days, and so I went over there, and in the capital city, they I didn't book a hotel or accommodation. I thought I'll book it when I get there. It's no problem. I've done this before.
Yeah.
But there was a convention of some sorts there, so all of the hotels were fully booked except for one, which was a 5-star place, and you know I didn't have that kind of money. I wasn't gonna be staying there, especially not for 2 nights or whatever. So, and this was all. We had cell phones, but not smartphones, and so I looked, and I managed to talk to some people, and they said, well, they made some phone calls. They said, well, there's a hostel in such a place, 45 minutes away from the capital city. It said it's the only place that still has room.
Okay.
You should take it.
Yeah.
And I said, yep, I'll take it. So I got on this bus road out there, you know, and it's getting more and more rural as we're driving along until they're in the middle of nowhere. And I thought, well, you know, I guess I see the hostel there. It's kind of like took it almost looked like a castle or something, and they kind of renovated it.
Okay.
But just looked at it, oh, I guess I'm gonna be here for a couple days.
Yeah, nice.
Not much to do, and so I arrived that afternoon. There's one restaurant in town, and it's a Italian restaurant, and I went over there. The lady, she only speaks French. She says, you know, something I don't understand, of course. So I try English and German. And, you know, finally we get to the point where I understand. What she's saying is, we don't start. The kitchen doesn't open until half an hour later. I can serve you drinks right now, but no food. Okay. So I have a drink. I wait. Then I get to eat whatever. you know,
Yeah, she serves.
she serves. I go back to the hostel, you know, turn in for the night. Next day I wake up. The hostel is located around, there's a wooded area, and there's like a little, you know, play area right there, and there's, looks like a park and a path, you know,
Nice.
leading off. I thought, oh, this is nice. So they provided this nice little path to people staying here. You know, I was thinking the kind of a, just like a nice little loop around the area.
Yeah.
So I set off and start walking or whatever, and then the further I get, I realize this isn't just some loop. This is actually like hiking into the mountains.
Wow.
And I just have one ball of water. I don't know where I'm going.
So you turn around.
No, I don't turn around because
Okay.
at this point it's too late to turn around.
Okay.
I'm already, by the time I realize this isn't just
A little loop.
a little loop, I'm already into it too far.
Okay.
So then, as the day progresses, I'm in these mountains, these woods, and the water's getting less and less, and then I start panicking a bit and thinking, oh no, you know, what's gonna happen? I have no idea where I am. I don't know where this hostel is. I think I took a picture of or I had the name of the town where this was, because there's a really small town. So had the town name, but that was it. So my first thought was, okay, I need to get out of the mountains or the forest. I don't, if when the sun goes down, I don't want to be here.
Summertime? Is it summertime?
It was autumn, probably about October.
So it could get cold, right?
Yeah, I just thought I don't want to be here
Mm.
in the mountains when the sun goes down, because then there's no way
Yeah,
I'll be
black
able to.
and black.
And black, yeah.
It gets black.
Yeah.
Like really black.
So I thought I'd rather be out, you know, in the clearing someplace. So it's getting towards about 4 o'clock or so, I guess, in the afternoon, and so I finally get out onto the. I get out onto a road, not the main road, but I get out onto a road, and then I'm still in the mountain, but at least there's some signs and things, and I see a sign pointing towards the town where I'm staying at.
Okay.
So I just start walking,
Yeah.
and then I finally get out of the mountain wooded forest area and come to a clearing. Just these fields, maybe it's wheat or something. I thought, okay, this is a step up from where I was.
Yeah.
At least maybe I can find help. But there's not really any cars or vehicles or anything.
Yeah.
It's really rural. So I keep walking, and then I see somebody working in the fields. It's an old woman. And I thought, well, this doesn't look promising, but
Give it a try.
I'll give it a try. So I walk up to her, and I say to her in German, I say, I'm lost. I'm looking for this town. What direction is this town? Is it this way or that way or wherever?
Yeah.
And she answered me in German. She looked at me really curiously. And she answered and she said, oh, it's, you know, about 5K that direction.
Wow.
And then I thanked her, and I just felt so ecstatic, so happy. And then I walked a little further, and then I recognized the route that the bus had taken the day before. I walked down the hill into that little town,
Yeah.
and I even made it back in time
For
to
dinner.
enjoy dinner at that Italian restaurant.
Wow. No, but the adventure there the adventure there, obviously, Gary, is the gift of hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hope, because I think we've all been caught in those kinds of circumstances that appear hopeless.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Literally hopeless.
For sure.
Like not good. Like you think, whoa boy, this is territory I don't know what to do. Literally.
Yeah.
And in the end, like what is what I was reading the other day, and Solomon says that this too shall pass, attributed to him, right? This too shall pass. And I think, yeah, I always remind myself, because And, I'm double your age, so I've had double the crises. For sure. Yeah, yeah. Jay, you think there's so many stories that a person can think of along the way of life, isn't there?
Yeah.
The weirdos and the strangeness. European story where I'm the only when I lived in Europe, the only place you could work legally in the summertime was Sweden.
Ooh.
So, living in Paris, we're on our way to Sweden. So I go with my friend Jörg Plevniak, who spoke. I think he works for the EU. He speaks literally 12 languages fluently. He's one of those people that can talk to anyone. So we're stick our thumb out. There's time of hitchhiking, and we get picked up by this car. And I was kind of curious about this guy. Great big Citroen, huge car, right?
Yeah.
But kind of weird. The guy's kind of relaxed there. His shirt's undone. His button is undone. The top button of his pants are undone. A little uncomfortable. Kind of strange for me. So there's Jörg and me and this guy. So we're driving along, and we come to the border, and the border from France into Belgium. No EU at the time, right? And he suddenly gets really agitated. You guys don't have any criminal records. You've never been in jail, and all this nonsense. No, like why? Why? So the EU was not created yet, but it was almost there, and the border police were really easygoing, just waved us through. Cross the border, Gary, the guy, stops the car on the side, and he touches the Citroen. It's got an enormous dash, right? He goes, he hits the dash. Baby, we did it again! We did it again! And I'm like, 18 years old, going, oh, did what again? Did what again? And he looked at me. He said, I'm a heroin smuggler. I smuggle heroin from Marseille to Amsterdam. Well, he said, by the way, where are you guys going? He said, that's my grandmother's farm, right there. And we got out, Jörg and I got out in the middle of nowhere. True story. Just startled me. I could see phoning my father. Dad, you won't believe what's happened to me. Need money. Yeah. I mean, because there are. Now, is that a lie? I don't think so. He looked like that kind of guy because he was too relaxed. The button, trying to really look relaxed. Like someone had told him, undo the top button of your pants so you look like you're cool. Or something like that. Yeah.
They won't suspect you.
They won't suspect you. Yeah. The great adventure of life, eh? Yeah. So, I mean, did you imagine when you were, going to high school, did you imagine that life would take you to this point now? Did you ever think something like this?
No, not really.
No?
And I think that's the really exciting thing about life. Especially, as you know, I grew up in a very rural area. And as such, I think it really makes every experience even more exciting.
Yeah.
Because some of the experiences, if their experience is similar to what you experienced growing up in your rural area, you can relate to those people, even though it's a different community.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, just like us.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if it's something in the in a different, a larger area, for example, or a situation like you said, I never really had dealings with heroin dealers, smugglers, or anything myself, luckily, but it just makes it all the more exciting because it's something that's completely foreign to you, that you just really out of your comprehension of.
Yeah, well, I mean, having seen, after this, I'm very sheltered upbringing in this small town, but after this experience in Europe, you start to notice people that are afflicted with alcohol, drugs, God knows what, and you really stand back and you go, wow, maybe being born in a small town wasn't such a bad deal at the beginning. I mean, of course, as you mature, you want to get out, but you know, yeah. So,
But yeah.
so what made you leave the town? What made you go?
I think I just wanted to see something new. That, like I said, I'd studied in Germany for a semester, and that was because of that was one of my studies.
Wow.
Was German language,
Wow.
and I've always been interested in languages, and that's a problem I think when you do live in a small area, is that you really don't have as much contact with foreigners. So
None, maybe.
or maybe none. So if you're interested in learning a foreign language, especially now things have changed a bit because of the internet, but especially when the internet was more in its infancy,
Yeah.
there just weren't as many opportunities to learn foreign languages and chat with people with high quality video calls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's true, isn't it?
I think that's just for me, that was part of it. I just wanted to experience some other cultures and see some other things and try to gain a wider understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, I think travel a few weeks back, when I started traveling around to different areas in the world, what I kind of realized is, in reality, we're all, the same.
Yeah.
We're all human. We all have some form of bread in our culture, some form of noodles. We all live in houses. Might look different, but we all enjoy music. We all cultures have musical instruments, and so often we're focused on the differences, but at the end,
We're the same.
we're all the same.
Much more so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, what changed my life, because I draw a distinction between two types of people. I think people, for the most part, are pretty much the same. There's a tiny few that are brilliant, maybe 5%, and there's a tiny group that are maybe foolish, 10%. The 85% of us are pretty much the same. But in that 85%, there is a distinction between the thoughtful individual and the person who doesn't think. Right? So I was 16 years old, and where I grew up, there's a lumber business was enormous. Money was huge, beyond imagination. More money, people made more money then than I can make today. And that's 50 years ago, to give you an idea. So we went to this factory, this lumber factory, and they pushed this log essentially onto a blade, and the log was spinning like this, going around.
Yeah.
And they put the blade, and the blade peeled. I've never seen such a thing. The log unraveled just like paper, like this, and so the wood floated off the log, if you will. Okay, and there was a man. So we're in the control center. We're in this little tiny house, about as big as my desk, not even, and he's sitting there, and we're kind of peering over his shoulder, the class around, kind of peering over his shoulder, and he's looking at this wood floating, and where there was a hole, he turned the machine on, and it chopped it up, and it put it into a vat, made paper. Where there was no hole, he put it off, and the machine chopped automatically, and made a board every 3 feet, right?
Yeah.
Every yard. That was his job for 8 hours a day, on and off.
Oh.
Okay? So that cured me. I couldn't stay. And my friends thought I was foolish, to be honest, Like, what are you doing? I mean, you could have a good job, you meet a girl, get married, 2.2 children, lots of material well-being, you get a nice truck, you can go hunting in the forest, killing things once a year or whatever.
Yeah.
Drink beer, have a good life. What are you talking about? Going away, going to Europe, going to Asia, traveling, university. What for? But the what for is, as you know, is because I can. I want,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
that's
I know,
why.
I know.
That's why. But I would have been 65 anyhow, is the point,
Mm.
right? You know, and so which would have been the better choice for me? Well, I know that I've been very lucky. I made the right choice for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
I totally agree with you there. And I think that, you know, life is an adventure. And for me, I think it's really important. Sometimes you need to embrace the adventure.
Yeah.
You need to throw yourself out of the comfort zone,
Yeah.
knowing that if you can just get out of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
great things await you.
That's right. Well, what they don't tell you in life school when you're 16 or 17 is that life is hard. Life is painful. Life is cruel.
Mhm.
Life is fickle. But life is a hell of a lot of fun as well, right? They don't tell
Yeah.
you that.
Yeah,
But
that's for sure.
unless we talked about this before, didn't we? There's life has two actions: the action of inaction, the action of action.
Mm.
You choose, because you're going to live your life and die anyhow. Anyhow, right? 90% of people, at least I feel, never discover their life mission, Gary. They don't know why they're here. They honestly, whatever their religious affiliation, they don't know why. But there is a why, I believe. But we have to uncover it. It's like an enormous portal. I gotta reach up and yank it, and it'll open. It'll
For
open.
sure, for
Not
sure.
easily, and and you gotta strain, and sometimes you only get open a little bit. You gotta peek around the corner, but it opens, and then anyone who has lived a good life. I watched a whole film on this the other day. Psychologist, a doctor, right? He said anyone who's lived a good life dies a good death. I thought, wow, what a statement, right? What a statement. Anyone who's lived
Lives
a good life dies a good death. Whatever the circumstances, right? And I thought, wow, I mean that stayed with me, right? You know, because life, we are mortal beings. We are. I mean, that's the reality of where we are. But why not have some fun? And then, what's my job? My job is to give back my life experience to the people that I care for and the people I love. My children, my grandchildren, my friends.
Well, that's exactly right. So, you guys who are out there listening to us,
Look for your life adventure.
grasp it and don't be afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go out there.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we gotta go. Sorry.
Gary out.
The grandfather out. Peace. Take care. Bye
Good
bye.
night, guys. Bye bye.